DBJ. Going to talk about my follow-up to Naked Fighting. This one is going to be called, I don't know. I'm thinking the proficiency rule, and I tend to fall in favor when players have specific requests about a character type or character design. They have a certain concept in mind that doesn't fit into the game. I always like to err in favor of give up something to get something. When players have proficiencies, skills, special abilities, familiars, they gain something at another level, spell slots, AC bonuses, hit point bonuses, and things of that nature. If their request falls into a category of one of those, I like to err in favor of, hey, give me something that's pretty much equitable to what you want. Give that up and you can have something else. So I'm going to talk about the idea of naked fighting. And naked fighting, for those who think this is dirty, is more or less thinking of the classic cinematic, unarmored heroes in movies and novels, graphic novels, cinema, fighting, lasting a long time. It could be naked fighting, more or less swashbuckling, with characters being fast and quick and dodging maneuvers. Thinking of movies like 300, Three Musketeers, Spartacus the TV show, the iterations of Conan, where you also have characters who are not only quick, but they're tough. They can take lots of damage. They get lots of cuts and bruises. And yes, I'm aware that hit points represent, especially with the fighter or fighter type classes, where they have, you start hitting towards 60 and 80 hit points, that your average individual gets put down by one arrow, but them, they're getting, jammed in the chest with 6 arrows, and they just pull the darn things out and keep on fighting. I understand that, but I'm thinking more or less, especially on the lower levels, to how do you duplicate that? So, here is a dirt simple, easy way that I think could really work without disrupting the game too much, and that is giving up a proficiency. Here's what I mean. The fighter classes have a proficiency with armor. So what I would do is I would say, well, you have to voluntarily give up your proficiency with armor, especially the fighting classes, cleric class. I'm going to talk about the rogue style classes in a minute, but especially the ones that pick the harder armors: chainmail, scale mail, bandit, plate mail. You give that up, and instead, Instead, what you do is you gain a proficiency bonus based on your level. So using Dungeons & Dragons 5e exclusively, you start out with a proficiency of +2 and it goes up. What I would do is I would make that a DR, a damage reduction rate. And so at first level, they would have a damage reduction rate of 2. Their proficiency bonus is +2. I'd give them a 2 damage. So whenever they take damage, subtract 2 from it. I believe proficiencies max out at level 20 at +5 or +6. Yes, some people may assume that this breaks the system. I can agree with that. But if the player is willing to not have a proficiency with armor, they don't benefit from magic armor, they would suffer the same penalties that a wizard would for wearing armor. I would use the same spell, the spell failure chances that wizards have. I would give them the same skill failure chances when wearing armor. I think it's a good trade-off. That's for making a character that's tough, doing like a Conan 300 kind of thing. Now, there's also skill proficiency with shields. Well, in the case of using an example of 300, a player who wants to create a Spartan warrior would give up armor proficiency but keep the shield proficiency. If you wanted to make a player like a Conan style and give up even the shield proficiency, I would just add 1 to it. So an example would be a first level character giving up both their armor and shield proficiency would have a DR of 3. I believe, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, at level 20, I believe proficiencies max out at +5 or +6. I would just add a 1 to it. So that 20th level character would have a DR of, with the +1, would have a DR of 6 or 7. I know I'm probably wrong on that. I believe at the lower levels, this makes the character much more powerful than higher levels. I think having, like, being able to subtract 5 points of damage when you've got creatures throwing around 60 to 80 points is not very much. Also, there comes a situation with a player that gets hit by something and then they take no damage. Do they take residual damage? And my feeling about that would be yes. So a player character that has a DR of, -2 or 3, -4, who doesn't take any damage, but the creature does paralysis damage, poison, hypnosis, something like that, and attacks the character. No, the character has not taken any hit point damage, but they may take residuals from it. There's also the fact of continuous damage. Say the player gets splashed with flaming oil, the oil lands on their arm, you roll damage for the burning oil. The first round, they have a DR of 4, it only does 3 points of damage. They're not taking any damage yet, but their arm is still on fire. The next round, if they don't put the fire out, it continues to do damage, etc., etc. Now, the other way of giving up proficiencies with armor, I would allow them to add that to their armor class to not be hit. So, for example, first level, D&D 5th edition, you get a proficiency bonus of +2. Hey, if you give up your armor proficiency, you get +2 on your armor class for dodging purposes, meaning that you are literally parrying or dodging attacks, and your character normally does this. So if you do like a Three Musketeers kind of thing, or you want to be a fast warrior, you're parrying and dodging things. You can even have a staff where you're blocking creatures' claw attacks and you're using it to block them off or something. Or you could just be very acrobatic. You're doing a parkour kind of thing where you're bouncing off the walls and doing cartwheels, backflips, and tumble rolls across the ground to dodge things. As well, if you give up your shield proficiency, I'd add +1 to it. So a first level character in D&D 5, they start out with a proficiency bonus of +2. I would give them a +3 if they gave up both their armor and their shield proficiencies. And again, like a wizard, if they don armor and or use a shield, I'd give them skill failures based on the spell failure chances. All right. I know I went through a lot there. Very crunchy. Hopefully I said earlier, and I'll probably put it in notes, that a lot of this is going to be a lot of crunch. I hope this helped out a little bit. I'm trying to keep some of these house rules as simple as possible. As far as fitting them into Pathfinder, I would be reluctant to use these systems in Pathfinder because I feel like Pathfinder has enough patches to warrant this. But sure, if you want to use them for that as well, that's cool. So, as always, you know me, I like to create, not destroy. I believe if a player wanted to play, quote-unquote, a tank, a fighter or fighter-style class, barbarian, ranger, fighter, but they wanted to run around naked, meaning just lightly clothed, and be more of a swashbuckling or a bare-chested style character, or very quick, a la Assassin's Creed, I would do that. I think it would be a great idea. So, of course, give me your opinions. There are going to be more videos to follow. So thank you very much.